Today we're going to be mixing paints and going over the vocabulary that goes along with color wheel and color mixing. You will need a palette paper to complete. You'll need a styrofoam plate with red, yellow, blue, black, white paint on it. You'll need a container of water to wash off your paintbrush. You'll need a paintbrush and a paper towel so you can dry off your paintbrush so you won't water down your paints. All of the directions are right on this piece of paper. You may use a color wheel as a reference if you would like. You can read all of these directions here to fill in and mix the paint correctly. Try to paint all areas with opaque or non-see-through color. And lastly, translucent or transparent color means that you can see through it, and we don't want that quality. Sometimes with these paints it's difficult to prevent that though, so do the best that you can. So we're going to start by filling in the palette above with paint. Begin by painting the primary color, secondary color, and neutral color. So primary color is red, yellow, or blue. You may choose any of those colors. When you're working with this paint, rest your hand, hold your paintbrush like a pencil, and run the tip of the paintbrush along the edge of the circle. I would really recommend turning the paper frequently to run the tip of the paintbrush along the black outline. Now our red paint is a little bit translucent, so you might not be able to hide the words if you choose red, and probably yellow as well. And then just try to spread it neatly. Second is your secondary color. Your secondary color is mixed when you mix two primary colors together. So I'm going to take a little bit of yellow, mix it right here on my palette with a little bit of red. And please use your eyes to judge whether the color is correct or not. When you're mixing colors, you really have to look and see if it's blending the way you want. So that looks pretty orange to me. I'm going to brush that in my circle once again. Turn the paper, rest my hand, and paint in the rest of it. And finally, a neutral color is a color that's not on the color wheel. You may choose from black or white, or you can mix gray. I'm going to need to rinse off my paintbrush first and dry it off so that it doesn't water down my paints. I don't want them see-through or translucent. Take a little bit of black, rest my hand, and I'm going to wash off my paintbrush again. Dry it off with my paper towel. Tints and shades have particular directions to follow. So to mix a tint, you're going to begin with white and then add a tiny amount of color, but please don't use red. A tint is a lighter value of a color. If you start with white and then add the color, it's easier to mix your tint. If you start with the color and add white to it, you'll use way too much paint, lightening up that color. So I made a tint of blue, or a lighter value of blue, and neatly paint that in. It should be transparent, it should be opaque because there is white in the paint, and that makes it more opaque. Now shade is a darker value of a color, but the directions say begin with any color, then add a tiny amount of black. So I'm going to start with some red, get a tiny amount of black, gradually add some more, until it makes that darker value. Well, pink is a tricky color. That's our next circle to fill in. So I like everyone to practice mixing pink. The directions say begin with white and then add a tiny amount of red. So I'm going to take some white. So pink is just a tint of red or a lighter value of red, and then paint that in. The next two circles require a two-step process. To mix a tertiary color, you mix a primary with a secondary. The directions say for tertiary warm color, examples would be red-orange or yellow-orange. So my first step is to mix my secondary color. So yellow-orange, I'm going to start with my orange. Once you have your orange, you can add more yellow to make it yellow-orange, or you can add more red to make it red-orange. So it's kind of a second step. And then you will paint that in. And the final tertiary color is a cool tertiary color, which could be blue-green or blue-violet. So again, I need to mix my secondary color first. I think I will take green. And then I can add more blue to it or more yellow to it to make it blue-green or yellow-green. Some tertiary colors have different names. For example, blue-green could be turquoise or aqua. Red-violet could be magenta. Now at the bottom of the paper, you're going to see monochromatic color. Monochromatic color. Mono means one. Chroma means color. One color in its lights and darks. Sometimes your cameras or phones have filters when you take pictures that will only use one color. For example, a black and white photo has grays in it, and a blue filter would make only your picture show up in dark blues and light blues. So choose any color and paint that true color down here in the middle. I'm going to use blue. And then mix a lighter value of that color. So white with a little bit of blue. I have some blue on my brush already. Brush that in. Try to be careful when you paint a wet edge of paint along another wet edge. And lastly, the dark value of the color. So I'm going to take a little bit of blue and a dot of black, and maybe a little more black, and make that my dark value of blue. And brush that on as well. When you're done painting, you will leave this on the drying rack. You can throw out your palette of paint, rinse out your water container, wash your brush out well by running your fingers under the water and through the bristles, and throw out any other things you don't need.